here where we have seen the overtopping of the levee. We want to show you real quick. Take a look behind us over here. That's where the levee is overtopping. Parish President Gordy Dove, come step over here just for a second. You saw it here on Fox 8 first. That's why we're your weather authority. That's why you've stuck with us all day and why you're going to stick with us through the rest of the night to get you through Barry, of course. But you see just a massive amount of water pouring over the top of that levee here in Dularge.
This is the sites out here in Myrtle Grove. A lot of water pushing over this area. We haven't seen anyone come out of their homes. They know how to ride out a storm here. Again, it's water's quickly rising. We did speak with a deputy with the sheriff's office. He says that they're worried that this portion of the road where we are may be overwashed, so they do want us to start heading back a little bit.
That situation that we talked about just a moment ago, we reached out to Fox 8 viewers and they responded within 5 minutes. 2 separate people were out here with boats to try and help these folks rescue these horses from the water. I was just told that in some parts of this field that has been flooded, it's 12 feet deep, certainly too deep for the horses. They're up to the top of their neck as they were trying to swim through this area. Now, the gentleman that we spoke to earlier, Sean Odemont, he's on that boat right there. He says they're going to try and herd the horses out using this flatboat with the gator tail motor on the back. The problem is once they get to land, you can see them right there. They're running because they're spooked. They have an opening on the gate here to let them out. He's going to take them and get them to dry land, but obviously communicating that to a horse is very difficult. So what he's attempting to do is trying to get on the back of one of the horses potentially and ride them out. He says if he gets one of them, the other one will follow.
You can see behind me there is a hole there in the flood wall, the water rushing in right now. Now basically this is part of the levee system that was unfinished, one of the back levees that was unfinished here in this community. Now I'm told that there were HESCO baskets in that opening there, and basically the water came through the HESCO baskets and now flowing into this community.
Yeah, this is the sites out here in Myrtle Grove. The wind is increasing. As you can see behind me, the wind is pouring all this water over top this area here. And
we got picked up by the Jefferson Parish Drainage Department. They are actually surveying this area now. Of course, we are in Lafitte, and that is the area where there are that mandatory evacuation, which we just heard is still going to be into effect well into the day today, as the storm has not quite made landfall yet. It is starting to rain and the wind gusts have been normal, but we're actually here right now on Oak Street where they've put up these portable pumps. Now Jefferson Parish was doing that all day yesterday, getting ready, so they've set up these portable pumps here on a levee where they are going to be waiting, and when this water starts to get very high, they are ready to go to switch those suckers on and try to pump out as much water as they can.
This is very unbelievable, pretty treacherous conditions. Take a live look over my shoulder. Hopefully you can see if we zoom in. There are about 5 people on wave runners out in the lake. We've been showing you all morning and now into the afternoon how, dangerous it is out here on the lake. The size of these waves crashing into the flood wall. And now we've got people out here on wave runners playing in the water, hitting these waves. It's truly crazy to see.
Ooh, wow, yeah, it's pretty deep coming in through my boots right there. So he said 12 feet deep in one spot. This field overtopped, or the water that's coming out over the levee there has created this flooding, and there they have them, both horses. He says they don't have names, but certainly he wants them to be high and dry, and I think they're going to be much happier once they come out. Oh, wow, that was a hairy situation for a few moments there. They weren't certain how they were going to get those horses out, and they were being very stubborn.
The big fear is that this water will eventually reach Highway 23, and once the water goes over that highway, it basically blocks off the south end of Plaquemines Parish. People will no longer be able to use the highway to get to the lower end of the parish.
And now as we pan over, you can take a look at the neighborhood here. A lot of water just sitting in this portion of this area at this time. Water getting pretty high the further down we look down there. You can see water almost at the top of some mailboxes there. And as we kind of pull back here, you can just get a better picture of what it looks like out here in Myrtle Grove in this community, in this neighborhood.
The problem is you have a north-south levee and you have an east-west levee on by the large, and all this water is funneling at one point, and it overtopped our levee here. We call for an evacuation. We're hoping the water will go down because the tide is starting to fall. And we're going to have crews in here tonight to shore up. Once the levee subsides, the water subsides, we'll have crews over here to reinforce this levee.
Maybe 40 minutes ago, we saw 3 deer move out of here as well. They kind of stopped, looked at us, and we looked back, and then they just went on their way trying to seek shelter and get to higher ground. But this is what it looks like right now out here. The district attorney says the concern for him is he worries this water will continue to push over and get into Highway 23, which is a major thoroughfare here on the West Bank. Throughout the last few days, they spoke with residents in Plaquemines Parish. They said they were going to kind of shelter in place. They said this is not the first time they've experienced storms like this. They are well experienced, and they know what they need to do to make sure they're safe.
We have Rob Masson now live with another apparently breaking story. Rob, can you hear us?
We hear you, Nancy, and what you're looking at is a Coast Guard helicopter leaving the Houma Airport, going to check out those people in Montague you've been talking about all morning. They have been engaged in rescues in the Ile de Jean-Charles area and some of the lower-lying parts of Terrebonne Parish, and they've been quite busy, and there are some folks here who are very, very relieved that they were out and about last night. And I'm with Edison and Elizabeth Dardar, and folks, first of all, glad you all are okay. How much do you appreciate that Coast Guard helicopter that just flew off?
Oh, I appreciate him very much.
What happened last night?
I don't know. We didn't think the weather was going to get that bad. That's how come we didn't get out. If we didn't know that bad, we would have got out.
Mr. Dardar, was it the wind or the water that scared you guys last night? Or both?
Nah, the boat, I guess, both, I guess, because the water came so fast, though, that we never did see that before.
Obviously, certainly a concerning situation, but there is a bit of a retention area here for much of that water. We saw several folks beginning to leave lower Dularge as they head up past the Falgoux Canal. Of course, they have cut off access to anyone coming down this way at the bridge there, if you're familiar with the area, so you're not going to be able to get in at this time because they have that mandatory evacuation in effect right now. But as you can see, the portions that they have built up, it's working. Otherwise, there it's beginning to erode, so they're going to try and mitigate that and reinforce it tonight if they can once the tide goes down. I'm looking at it right now. When we were out here earlier giving you your first look at the overtopping here in Dularge, the water was up much closer. It was almost as if we were walking on the water here at the top of the levee. But right now, it certainly has gone down considerably, considering how high it was, but still a concern down there at the overtopping of the levee that certainly needs to be shored up, and the folks down here in Terrebonne Parish are going to be doing that.
The water started rushing into the neighborhood there in the Montague area, including in this section alongside the road. So at kind of the left side of the screen is the roadway, and what played out, and you can kind of see a vehicle in the distance, and then eventually what we saw a couple hours ago was a bulldozer come by and build a makeshift levee out of the road. They actually physically raised, you can see the bulldozer in the distance now, they actually physically raised the level of that road by, I would think, a good 2 feet, Nancy, conservatively, then brought in some limestone on top of that to remake the road. So they actually raised the level of the road there, which seemed to be working.
What you see behind is they actually took the road and dug out the dirt from the road to make that makeshift levee. Then they brought the limestone on and just packed it on top. It was amazing. It seemed no time flat within an hour or two for them to completely stop this water from running. And it just shows the ingenuity of folks down in that area.
And the immediacy, and people seem, from what we understand from Rob Krieger, who was covering that story, people seem to be very pleased with the response.
Well, parish leaders have set up a checkpoint here on Highway 23 South. Their fear is that if people drive down this roadway, then they won't be able to tell where the road is. And that's because there's water that overtopped a levee near Myrtle Grove.
I'm at one of 3 breaches in the Bayou Dularge area where there's a line of dump trucks waiting to move their cargo over to the levee breach in an effort to help repair that.
The threat is not over.
Nope. Tropical Storm Barry has brought powerful thunderstorms into the area. Let's go straight to Chief Meteorologist David Bernard.
And as we told you this afternoon, guys, day 2, the Barry tail sometimes that is what can really get you, and it's going to get somebody in Louisiana. We had a little piece of it tonight. Now, look at the North Shore, look at the South Shore. This is all just light rain, all right? So we don't have any severe weather across the area after that burst that we had between 7:30 and 9:30. We still have some heavy showers running along the Pearl River, and theoretically there's still a street flood advisory for eastern St. Tammany Parish, and some of these rain showers are running right along the boundary of that flood advisory that bumps up against the Pearl River. But the heaviest rain has been falling in Pearl River County, most of it west of Interstate 59 for the last little while or so. So some heavy tropical showers and downpours falling there. If these get stuck there, we might see a flood advisory issued for western Pearl River County.